The Stage Door Show, celebrating the independent artist. With your host, Dave Hondel.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Stage Door Show. Tonight, this is Dave Hondel. My guest is an award-winning actor who you've seen as Oscar in The Walking Dead, Bishop in the House of Vicious, Cornelius in The Family Business and The Black Hamptons, and so many more great roles over the years. He's one of the busiest actors in Hollywood with several projects either in pre-production or just wrapped, and we're honored to have him with us tonight. So please welcome Vincent M. Ward to the show. Thanks for being with us, Vincent.
Let me look around, make sure you're talking about me.
It's all true. It's all
Thanks
true.
for having me, Dave.
It's been great. You know, I just see how many projects that you're involved with right now, and either being, soon to be released or in pre-production. And first of all, it's a sign of your talent. That's first for sure, but also it's hard work. I think a lot of our listeners who are actors. It's something you're doing right. And talk about being a working actor in the business, because I know we're just coming off a recent strike, and it's the business itself is unknown, and a lot of the things that happen, you have no control over. So talk about being a hardworking actor, and what it means, and because when you're not working, you're unemployed, right? So talk about being a working actor in Hollywood, and how the hard work that it takes to do that.
Man, let me tell you something. If this is just a hobby or just something you want to do, then this isn't the industry for you. If you think it's going to happen overnight, this isn't a business for you. It takes faith, it takes patience, it takes hard work. And everybody ain't who they say they are, Dave. There's a lot of people out here be like, oh, I can do this for you. And they can't do nothing. They trying to see what they can get from you. But for me, man, I say this all the time. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be. And, I've been dedicated to the craft and to the industry, and just being, more importantly, a professional and a good guy. For me, my reputation means everything to me. If I'm the person, if I'm late, then something is wrong. I don't believe in that CPT time or, making excuses about traffic and all that other stuff, man. I'd rather for the production to wait for me than, me wait for them than them having to wait for me.
Right.
And then sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Exactly. But what you just said, mate, I want to bring up again, because this is something we talk about a lot on the show. When you said being a good person, and having them, or having, you wait on them as opposed to the other way around. Because, one of the things we talk about is to be respected on set. And to do that, you have to be a good person to everybody on the set, whether it's craft service, whether it's, the casting person, whether it's a PA, anybody, on the set. Yeah. If you're not an easy person to work with, it's going to be a short career in Hollywood. Is that correct?
Oh, most definitely, man. Because that PA might be the son or the daughter of the person who owns the studio, and he's making them work from the ground up. You never know who's watching you. You never know who the person might be. And it's always good to be good to everybody. I'm not saying kiss people's butt, but just be polite. A lot of times you're on set 10, 12, 14 hours, and nobody wants your negativity around to bring everybody down, so it's an honor to be working, man. You could be sitting at home like, oh, what am I gonna do? But when you get on that set, I live on the outskirts of LA now, and people are like, man, you live too far. But guess what? Every time I drive to that set, I'm smiling. I'm going over my lines. I'm focusing. I'm praying. I'm manifesting. I'm being grateful to be able to get in a car, have enough gas money to get to where a lot of people wish they would wish they could be. And that's on a set. It's at a studio. So, you take that time to just ease your mind, to just be grateful, and just go do a great job, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's well said. And, one of the things that, I notice also, besides The Walking Dead and, Everybody Hates Chris and some of these other shows you've been on multiple episodes, and to be on multiple episodes, you have a recurring role. And for any actor out there, obviously a lot of actors that we've had on the show have done guest star appearances in different shows and TV shows. But to be a recurring role in anything is really a blessing. And as a working actor, and they wouldn't have you back if you weren't easy to work with, the way I look at it. So, talk about being a recurring character, and does that put extra pressure on you? And is it challenging to be a recurring role, knowing that it's gonna, probably, kind of shoot you to stardom, I guess, in that particular, genre of work that you're doing?
You mentioned Everybody Hates Chris. It is so crazy because I wasn't on there as an actor. I was on there as Terry Crews's personal stand-in. People don't know a stand-in is when a person, say Terry Crews, is off to wardrobe or off the makeup, and I'm reading Terry's lines,
Right.
Or they're getting the lighting and the sound together with me. So I would tell all the other stand-ins, we're going to read these lines like we're Terry Crews, like we're Tashina Arnold. And, we would really act out the scenes. So the reason why I got so many different parts on there is because they saw that I wasn't a normal stand-in. And I was the only stand-in that had a stand-in, because
Yeah,
I would
right.
go to other sets. And a lot of times those producers or those directors, whoever's there that week, they would call Everybody Hates Chris and be like, is Vince available? We have a part for him. So you just take advantage of the situation that you're in and don't look at it like, oh, I'm just a stand-in, or I'm just an extra. No, you take advantage of the situation. And reoccurring on stuff is definitely, it's huge. Reoccurring is what you want to do. But on top of that, series regular is what you want. Lead is what you want. But you work yourself up.
Right.
I remember I'm from Ohio. I started in Ohio. My first movie was the movie Traffic with Michael Douglas. And when I finally moved here to LA, I was like, let me try this extra work stuff out. I had never been an extra. I didn't even know what it really and truly was.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think I like this.
Yeah.
Even
Not
though
the
you're
same.
supposed to treat everybody with respect, I saw that they weren't being treated with respect.
Right.
A lot of times, which is not right. So yeah, you just work yourself up, and season 3 of House of Vicious is when I finally become a series regular, and I've never been a series regular before, Dave,
Yeah.
until now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in talk about building relationships, because, obviously in Hollywood, building relationships and networking is super important. Like you said, sometimes it's who to get some of these opportunities. And I'm not saying you're going to get a role necessarily, but at least it puts your foot in the door to get the interview or to get, an audition for a certain role. And so, talk about the importance of networking for the actors that are listening out there, for being, to try to get some of these roles that are, like you said, recurring or even a guest star role.
Yeah, and again, you never know who's watching you. You're being a professional, a true professional. For me, is key. For example, I did this movie called Illicit. I didn't have to audition for it because I knew the writers and the directors, so they just asked me to do a part. I said, fine. Went on there, did my thing. The casting director name was Phaedra Harris. Okay. About a year later, Phaedra called me out the blue. And it's like, hey, what are you doing next week? I have a part for you on a new show called House of Vicious. I was like, all right. Went, did my thing. Season 2, they bumped me up more for House of Vicious. Season 3, with the way that House of Vicious ended is with a phone call saying the season finale. The last line in the show was a young lady picking up the phone said, "Hello, welcome to House of Bishop. Bishop is my name."
That's right. Yeah.
On the show.
Yeah.
So just hearing that and knowing how I got that part, it blew my mind.
Yeah.
It blew my mind. So the relationship with Phaedra just calling me out the blue, the casting director, Phaedra Harris, just calling me out the blue, It's a relationship. And she just asked me to do something the other day, and of course I was there for her. You know, it can't be somebody always doing something for you. You know,
Right.
you gotta do stuff for other people as well. And I'm not talking about anything strange for a little piece of change, but if somebody asks you to do something, I mean, it doesn't take a lot to reciprocate the gratitude that somebody, you know, showed you.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that. You said, I've heard you say that your parents and your grandkids are your inspiration. You know, first of all, how did they inspire you? And I usually ask this at the very end, but what kind of legacy do you want to leave to your grandkids when it's all said and done?
I want them to see that hard work eventually pays off. You know, I think in this world that we live in, people think, you know, just with social media that it just happens overnight. A lot of people thought I was I just started doing The Walking Dead, and then finally they started seeing me on other stuff. They're like, "Oh, I didn't know you was on there. I didn't know you was on there," because I've been doing it. So I want my grandkids to see that, you know, my papa has been doing this for a while and he stuck with it. Well, especially when it's something that you love and you have respect for, you stick with it. And for my parents, man, my thing is trying to put them in a situation that that they never have to worry about anything
Yeah.
again. You know, I felt love from my parents for 53 years. And you know, and I try my best to show them not just money or whatnot, but just I want them to feel proud. You know, my dad, he's in the hospital right now. He's a little sick, but you know, he's good. But I just want them to feel proud and know that all that hard work over the years, me growing up, wasn't, you know, I don't know. I get a little emotional
Yeah.
about this, but
Well,
you
I
know,
got you.
I want them to be proud.
Yeah.
Even right now, man, I don't cuss in front of my parents. I won't even have a drink in front of them.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not like a big drinker or anything like that. But it could be a glass of wine, and I still feel weird because these are my parents. And I remember what they told me growing up. You know, it was different back then with weed and all that other stuff. And I was a basketball star. My mom used to say, "Somebody gonna put something in that weed. You better be careful." And I'm like, "What?" But I never smoked. I'm
Yeah.
53 and I still haven't smoked weed.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you.
I still hear her voice like, mm.
Yeah. That's all it takes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
now my grandkids are at the age that they watch. You
yeah.
know, my oldest granddaughter is 14.
Oh, wow.
They watch
That's right.
what I do, so I have to watch
Yeah.
what I do.
That's right. Yeah. Very impressionable at that age. Well, first of all, our best to your father and, you know, speedy recovery to him.
Thank you.
But how did you learn acting, first of all? And what was that moment that you knew that this was going to be your career?
Man, I've always been an entertainer from basketball to dancing in a rap group, man. We used to open up, my rap group used to open up shows for MC Hammer, Special Ed, Salt and Pepper. I'm 6'4", and my dance partner was a 6'5", was 6'5". So we were the dancers in the rap group. We didn't rap.
Yeah.
We was just dancing and stuff, kid and play type stuff. So when it came to acting, I've always, I always have this entertainment blood in me. And my first thing was doing a play, and I was not going to be the weak link in the play.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So the play was the character was kind of just me being myself. It was called Mr. Loverman. Hughes and Blues, the lifestyle of Langston Hughes, the poet.
Okay.
So that was pretty much me doing poetry, trying to
Yeah.
be smooth and suave and stuff. So
Right.
once I got that whole memorizing lines down, you know, that's the part I was scared of. It's like memorizing all these lines, like.
Well, and some of
Yeah.
those times you guys don't get the lines until almost the day of. Or the night before, right? I mean, as far as a TV show goes, I mean, you don't always have a long time to memorize your lines, right?
They kind of stopped doing that. They kind of stopped doing that because it's hard.
Yeah.
You know, you can't ask for somebody to be off book or memorize all these lines, and they just got it the night before.
Right.
The one thing that makes me nervous is when they change lines the day of.
Yeah.
I
Rewrite
remember
something. Yeah.
I remember the first episode of the Black Hamptons. True story. One of the young men was flying in from Atlanta and he caught COVID.
Wow.
He had COVID. They tested him before he got on the plane.
Yeah.
And by the time he got to LA, he was positive. So it was three guys in the scene plus him. So we had to change the entire scene around. And I was the one to end up getting the most lines. And I'm like, oh my God. But it worked out, man.
Yeah.
You have to sometimes just have to sit back and believe in yourself.
Right.
And like if you couldn't do it, then they wouldn't have hired you.
Yeah. Well, that's for sure. Speaking of rewrites and so forth, I mean, a lot of these things, producers and directors have to deal with, and you're also a producer. Was this a natural progression for you being an actor for so many years? But also, were you able to be on being on the set for those many years? Were you able to be a sponge and kind of, take everything in and everybody's roles? And did that kind of be a natural progression to become a producer from everything that you witnessed, I guess, as being an actor?
Well, I've always connected people or hook people up. So, if I know something or I know a place we can film or people we can count on, that's producing.
Right.
I do that almost every day.
That's
But
right.
then I end up getting getting a producer title a few times. So I was producing even when I didn't know I was producing.
That's right.
Because I want it to be right. It's not just about me. It's about making the project right, making the play right, and everybody shine. I've never been the type of person to be like, oh, look at me, look at me. No,
Right.
that's not me. I want everybody to shine, and I want everybody to be happy. So I mean, even going back to high school days, as I never thought about being an actor. I only thought about acting when I accidentally went and saw a play.
Yeah.
That was it. Because I
Yeah.
got fired from General Motors and I got fired from Champ Sports. I got hurt on the job. Told me I couldn't come back.
Yeah.
Had to do something. So yeah.
It's God's way of opening the door for
Yeah.
another opportunity, right?
Not knowing
Yeah.
that this was gonna happen.
Yeah.
When Champs let me go, I was the number one salesman in the district.
Yeah.
The general manager came and said, how far you want to take it in this company? I said, I'd like to have a position like yours one day. Dave, 2 weeks later, this dude fired me, man.
He's
Fired
afraid
me.
that you're going to take his job. Probably.
I wasn't even an assistant manager yet. I was still training.
Well, I think people know talent when they see it.
and I went and saw a play 3 weeks later, and I fell in love with acting that day.
Yeah.
And I had never seen a play, man. I was probably 29, 30 years old, and never seen a play.
Yeah. I think once people get a taste of acting, and they've never done it before, I mean, it's addicting. It really is. I've always been the directing aspect of things behind the cameras, but what I'm told is everybody gets in front of that camera, it's almost like a drug. You can't forget about it. I mean, you got to continue to do it. And did you find that to be the case yourself?
Most definitely. When I started hearing the crowd, the audience laugh or cry or boo, I was like, I like this.
Immediate reaction, right?
If you can do a play, you can do anything.
Yeah.
Because with theater, there's no cut. It's only action.
Right.
And I remember I did a play. I was on tour with Snoop Dogg.
Wow.
It was his very first play. And when I heard he was in the play, I'm like, Snoop is in a play. He's leading this, because I'm thinking he's just gonna be in the play for a little bit and be done.
Right.
No, he was all the way throughout the play, and he was awesome.
Oh, he was in Training Day. He did an awesome job in Training Day too. He's a good actor.
But a movie is different from theater again.
True, that's right.
You know what I mean? It's so fun because he didn't even know you had to change clothes.
Oh,
True story.
yeah,
And you know, wherever he goes, he has his security with him.
right.
Even during the play, you know, people don't see what's happening in the background or whatnot in the
Yeah,
play. So when he's running to change clothes, his security is running with him. I'm like, why is his security even here?
yeah,
So they was helping him change out his outfits and everything. But I remember going to Snoop and I was like, it's probably been 2 weeks, and he had a lot of lines.
yeah,
And I went up to him. I said, "Dog," I said, "as much as you smoke, how do you remember all these lines?" He said, "Cuz if I wasn't smoking, I probably could remember." I
yeah,
was, wow,
yeah,
okay. If I didn't smoke, I probably couldn't remember.
yeah. Wow.
But he
What a
did an
great
awesome
experience, though,
job.
right? Yeah,
Yeah. And the thing about it is, you know, when you have reality show people or you have rappers or athletes come, if they doing what they supposed to do, that's fine. But if
right,
they come in late and you got an entourage acting crazy, then that's when I have a problem with it.
right.
Because it's fair game to everybody, you
Yeah,
know.
right. Yeah, it's gotta be run as a business. It gotta be thought so as a business, no matter what your position is outside of that project. What kind of genre do you like? I mean, we spoke about being in plays and, you've been in TV shows, movies. So what of the three do you kind of gravitate towards, if any of them?
I think drama, thrillers,
Yeah,
horror.
really.
Yeah. And I think people want to see me do horror more than anything. And it's because I know it's because of my build, because you know, I ain't a little guy.
Sure.
And my voice and you know, I can mean mug you pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I like comedy is more of who I am though.
Right.
That's more of my personality.
Yeah, right.
But I would trade all those in to be a host.
Yeah. Like a Terry Crews position, like a host like that.
I always say like a Terry Crews, like a Michael
Yeah.
Strahan, you
Yeah.
know, big guys with big personalities that
Yeah.
don't scare people.
Right.
You know,
Right.
because and then you know, I always wanted to be a travel show host, so I created my own travel show stuff, my own travel show projects.
Yeah.
One with me and my wife, I had created one called Conventioning,
Yeah.
you know, because it's over 13,000 conventions in the world. And I always try to create stuff that I never see people who look like me
Right.
as the host
Sure.
or as the horror character.
Right.
You know, rest in peace to Tony Todd.
Right. I just saw that.
Tony,
Yeah.
yeah, Tony was in my movie that I created at Lionsgate Distribute called Devereaux. And you know, the reason why I created Devereaux is because I got tired of getting killed off.
Yeah.
I kept
Right.
on saying, you know, I'm gonna make Devereaux be up like Saul,
Right.
Saul 10, you
That's
know.
right. Yeah, exactly.
You know, Michael Myers, my wife loved Michael Myers as her
Yeah.
boyfriend. Michael Myers don't never damn die. Even when they say he gonna be dead,
He
he
comes
don't
back. Yeah.
die.
That's right.
Devereaux is gonna be the same way.
Absolutely. Well, that's awesome. Speaking of being killed off, I want to bring this up because I did see an interview that you did about the Walking Dead, and that you didn't realize that you were being killed off until you were sitting in the makeup chair. And
Yeah.
that, and I guess, my question is this, if, I know that the Walking Dead is famous historically for keeping things close to the vest, and they don't want things getting out. They don't want, anybody getting any spoil alerts or anything like that. Do you feel that was part of the reason that you didn't know until that time frame? Is that kind of how they kind of ran things a little bit?
The earlier seasons, it was like that. They're
Yeah.
not as secretive as they used to be.
Oh, okay.
They just forgot to tell me.
Oh,
That's it.
okay. Okay.
That's
Kind of a
it.
big thing to forget, right? I mean,
Yeah, but in their defense too, you know, I was told that it might be 6 or 7 episodes.
yeah.
So, but you know, once if your characters start becoming popular, it could be more.
Right.
Just like my buddy Irony Singleton, he played T Dog. He was only supposed to be on there for 3 episodes, I
Yeah.
believe. He ended up doing like 3.5 years.
Sure.
But you know, I ain't gonna lie, I was a little pissed off about it.
Yeah.
but they don't owe me nothing. I didn't even know what the show was when I first started working on there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
to be on there for 7 episodes and, one of the best seasons, was very honored to be a part of it, even though I didn't know what The Walking Dead was.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, it's got, it's so incredibly popular. I mean, I know season by season, it just, grew in popularity and I mean, even the talkbacks that, that Norman Reedus did, I mean, just lines across around the entire auditorium. I mean, just packed the place. And so I know it's just a very popular franchise. And, did that as an actor, to be in that franchise, I mean, that has to be like one of your highlights in the
most
years that
definitely.
you've done, this acting job.
Yeah, most definitely. And, I mean, even going back to the Walking Dead, I wish they would have had me on the Talking Dead. I thought I'd done enough to be on the Talking Dead,
Sure.
especially when I know a character who did 2 episodes and he was on the Talking Dead. So,
Yeah.
you got your good and your bad, your happy and your sad moments, and that's why you start creating stuff.
Yeah.
And my thing is, I want to be on a show from season 1 to season 20 and
Right.
feel like I'm really part
Yeah.
of the show.
Right.
And I can honestly say with House of Vicious, this is probably the only project that I really and truly that's big like this, that I really and truly feel like I'm part of the family.
Right. For sure. Yeah, well, and we all love it, and you have a lot of fans out there that love it as well. And I talked a little bit about when we first started about all the things that you have in the works. So, is there anything you can talk about that our listeners can get excited about that's about to come out?
Well, I tell you, this Seven Cemeteries just came out with Danny Trejo, and if you haven't seen that, then you're missing a awesome movie. And I'm not saying it just to be saying it. I feel like this is one of the best movies I've ever been in.
Wow.
Danny Trejo had a hell of a performance. The cast was awesome. And again, I always been in situations where it's a blessing. The way that I got hired for Seven Cemeteries, I didn't audition. They saw me on Lou Temple's reel. He was auditioning. And so
Wow.
they was like, "Well, who is the big guy?" And it's like,
Was
"Well,
he?
is that your guy
Yeah.
from is that your partner from The Walking Dead?" And he was like, "Yeah." And that's how I got hired on there.
Wow.
Seven Cemeteries is out right now. Devereaux, my movie that I created, is out right now. We just did the season finale for House of Vicious. You can still catch the Black Hamptons on BT Plus. And
Yeah.
what else? Oh, me and my wife's show. I can't never pronounce the damn word right. Mock banging with the wars is like us eating and just having real conversations.
Wow.
Yeah, that's over on YouTube. So I have an awesome time with my wife on there.
Yeah, and I
Shout
know
out to
that
Shorty.
if anybody Googles you, Vincent M. Ward, they're going to see a lot of your videos, a lot of your work. In fact, that's why I saw one of your travel clips there, and so there's a lot of things that you have out there, a lot of content. So I know Vincent M. Ward on all social media as well. They can find you. And before we go, I just want to ask you, what kind of advice can you give to our artists that are listening out there that are just getting started in the business? Because I know it's a hard business, but what kind of advice can you give them?
Don't give up. Don't give up, and don't expect everybody to support what you're doing. Don't, because you're going to be disappointed. Trust me, I've been disappointed so many times. Hey guys, go check me out on this. And the people that you think gonna support you will be the people that don't support you.
That's right. That's
And
right.
it hurts, man. It hurts. But the day that you decide to quit may be the day that God decided to bless you. And the reason why I said that is because I remember I was doing voiceovers, and I would have to drive an hour to the studio. Then I had to sit there another hour. And then I kept auditioning, but I wouldn't book anything. And this one particular day, I said, I'm tired of this. I'm sitting there, I'm waiting. I'm emailing my agent at that time, letting them know this is it. I don't want to audition for anything voiceovers anymore, because it was bringing my high down and bringing my confidence down. I didn't send it. Okay. They called me in and said, Vince, it's your turn. I went in there. I turned my phone off, went in, did the audition. And I swear to you, Dave,
Yeah.
I come out, I turn the phone back on. It's a message from my agent. And I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't push send. So
Right.
I'm like, did I accidentally push send? And I called her and she's like, congratulations. You booked your first voiceover, Donnie McClurkin's Gospel Gold.
Wow.
I'm like,
That's
wow.
big.
The date that I thought I was going to call it quits, God stepped in and like, no, here you go.
Right.
Donnie McClurkin. If people don't know who he is, he's big in the Christian
Absolutely.
gospel.
That's been my genre for years. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I knew Donnie McClurkin. Absolutely.
And after that day, I said, I'm never gonna let that come out my mouth.
Right.
And I haven't.
Yeah.
You have to take the good with the bad. You have to take the happy and the sad, man.
Yeah.
But you have to have faith and you have to stay true to yourself and the people who really and truly support you.
Yeah, I agree. It's been a pleasure having you on, Vincent, and always welcome back. Can't wait to have you back at some point. Talk about some great projects you're doing, or just to talk. So again, thank you for taking the time to be on the Stage Door Show, and I know our listeners really appreciate that. And I just hope you and your wife have a great rest of your week. Again, just looking forward to our next conversation.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you, brother.